a steady, high-pressure stream of flaming napalm for the information and guidance of all concerned. A machine of pain, fear, and abandonment. The flamethrower is the Stalin of all weapons. Most iconic is the M2, crafted and used by imperialists. But how did it work? John liked to wear the M2 on his back with its 3 tanks. He knew 2 of them contained napalm, which he could only explain to himself as some kind of weird sticky gel. He was told the gel was used for long distances, but his doubts only made him reaffirm how perverted the creators of this liquid shotgun really were. Once, he decided to test the efficiency of the perverted gel on an unsuspecting dealer of basement trash. His belief was that all would be over in an instant, but apparently the sticky gel and fire they took a bit longer than what he was comfortable with. So he had to resort to primeval instincts. Designed by the US military and used in the Korean, Vietnam, and Second World War, the M2 flamethrower is an improvement over the M1. The 2 pressure fuel tanks containing napalm attached to a gun with 2 triggers. The third tank holds high pressurized nitrogen. It is attached to the fuel tanks by a pressure regulator. As the fuel is fired out at BIO, the difference in pressure pushes the higher pressure nitrogen into the fuel tanks, keeping the pressure equalized. Otherwise, the range of the M2 would decrease so much that BIO would be able to escape in the prolonged span. The gun has 2 grips and a valve, and is attached to the fuel tanks by a pipe. The valve starts the pressure so the gun can fire at BIO. BIO didn't need to know all this before he had been sprayed from eyebrow to shoe with a jet of satanic liquid. In between his confused panic, the worst part came when he remembered. He had forgotten to close his apartment's window. Pigeons had already stolen his keys once, and this time he deeply knew it'd be no different. But all he could now remember was the spark at the nostril, which had caused a flash of hell at his face. The fire cannot go up into the gun because the fuel is being rapidly forced out of it. When the fuel trigger is released, the gun is capped at the end, rather than where the trigger itself is. The fuel can also be released without triggering the incendiary, letting the user soak the target before igniting it with a second burst. Bill didn't have that luck today. Fed up from having his money frozen, John once went to his bank to demand what was his. What he couldn't understand was why people were staring at him, and as to why he was called a robber. He was just there for a withdrawal. He tried to talk to the bank's employees, but something went wrong and the steel shutters fell. They were trapped. John wanted his money bad, so he went to the door with the gap. He knew there was a fire procedure, so he only needed to spurt a little inside to ensure their freedom. His trigger got stuck for more than he wanted, and after hearing the screams of agony from within, he decided to come back another day. They were obviously burned out by work. His shoulders hurt from the heaviness on his back, and he needed to refuel. John found the use of the M2 handy in the drenching forests, or after a bath in the lake. The desert would usually annoy him, as they'd cause the range of his hugs to decrease, while the winter only made it trickier to make Santa's icicles melt.
No!
Once he tried to fight with the wind as to find himself on top the chain of power, but apparently he didn't have enough natural selection points in those regards. Some people tried to blow John up as he was passing by a bazaar for some cheap desk chairs. But they found that it wasn't like in the movies where the fuel tanks would blow up. In the case of emergency, like catching the bus, the shoulder straps can be removed by a release catch, allowing the agility for getting ticketless on the desired bus. The fear of fire is instinctive in all people and animals. Most of the deaths caused by the M2 were from the fear of the fire itself, causing the opposition to flee from their secure location and be picked one by one in the process. The gel fuel can bounce off walls and through windows, leaving no one safe, even if they are undercover.